massive dropping. Nobody don't shout no more like they used to shout before. Boy, these grunting fans, they crumbling about promise songs, fail on delivering. Boy, start song and can't finish it. It's standard English, singing stupidness, nonsense. Why don't you sing a song and help again? Tell me what happened to me fair share when the money disappear. Ooh yeah, boy. Stuart, if it question here, bring it up to shout for me. I wanted to roll, roll for me. I will be rocking down the complex. Yes, if they don't crown me king, boy, I do me like the doctor, placing their campus suicide bomber. Bringing them to shout for me. I wanted to roll for me. I'm gonna be mashing up the complex. Yes, if they don't crown me king, boy, I do it like the doctor, placing their campus suicide bomber. Boy, bringing them to shout for me. I wanted to roll for me. Anything you want, you go get. Boy, I'm mixing up the soca with some Hindi and some rumba, chutney and lavandera. I didn't know necessary. Boy, we calypso mercenary. Bring it up to shout for me. I wanted to roll for me. Maintain impulso, todo zombie and pira. Boy, take it away. Airlines, see preacher, see taxi, bring it to shout for me. I want them to roar for me. You don't know, you got to spend big money if you wanna win monarchy. I go got the diaspora. 420 in my corner, boy, share the life, boy. Press like, subscribe, sharing. All here the diaspora's king. Your king got me knocking down your airport, knocking down hospital walls. Boy, training geothermal. Let the Jewish people sing the song. These Hebrew boys don't understand. Betty, that is out for me. I want to roll for me. I'll be rocking down the complex. Yes, if they don't throw me king, do it like the doctor, president, campus, suicide bomber. Bring it there to shout for me. I wanted to roll for me. Anything you want, you go get. Yes, I'm mixing up the soca with some Hindi and some rumba, chutney and lavandera. I need no necessary. Please calypso mercenary. Boy, bring it there to shout for me. I wanted to roll for me. Mantener el impulso, todo zombie and mira. Take the momentum. Everybody is welcome. Thank you.
I'm done with that. I stop singing about this and that. No more calypso from the maestro. I'm getting old and I'm getting cold. Lucifer ain't gon' get me soul. No more calypso from the maestro. But me fans are asking me, my show make one more entry. You better tell the nation what's happening in the country. Plenty people they calling me, complaining ferociously. They want me, poor me, to condemn the ruling party. But I hate dispute, I only can sing the truth. So I went through the whole country and made my inquiry. And tonight I'm judge and jury. Another nigga gon' vex with me. Margaret Lee, you and your party, I find you guilty. Boy, you're feeling this economy. You put the whole country on life support. I find you guilty. Just like you did with the airport. You guilty, you guilty. Cast overrun at the hospital wing. I find you guilty. With no sign of the job completed. You guilty, you guilty. You see the global as your campaign tool. I find you guilty. Mark, you take poor people with fool. You guilty, you guilty.
Yes, if you tell me, I will tell them that tell me is on.
Did somebody say tell me? Then tell me about it. Tell me with host Carlisle Powell.
There are talk shows, and then there is Tell Me, your very credible source for information. Join us every Thursday night. You certainly won't be disappointed.
Alongside Dr. Kelvin Daly.
Panic and fear, uncertainty that is compounded by a leadership that appears unprepared, uncertain, and indecisive in dealing with the coronavirus pandemic.
And Tulu Weeks.
Until God gets a hold of our Premier's life and transform him, he will go from bad to worse.
We are tired of playing politics. We need to see policies that will change the life of people, especially those of us in the diaspora.
Tell me. Carlisle, I want all women in this rally for change.
Every Thursday at 8 p.m., you can be a part of this conversation by calling 669-7312. That's 869-669-7312. Also available on WhatsApp or from the diaspora 917-460-2187.
Every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. with host Carlisle Powell on 2020 Vision Radio and Facebook.
Do you know what you're drinking? If you are drinking plastic bottled water, chances are you're consuming plastic contaminants, BPA, and other hormone-disrupting chemicals you cannot see with your naked eye. Those empty plastic bottles take up to 450 years to decompose. In the meantime, plastic bottles are polluting the environment. They are dangerous to the planet and our health. The safer solution is to acquire your own Kangen alkaline water filtration system, and you will never have to buy toxic bottled water again. Help save the planet and drink clean water for less than the price you'll pay for acid plastic bottled water over the next few years. The Kangen technology is the world's most popular, most acquired water immunizer. For more information, you can call or WhatsApp us on 917-207-1307. That's 917-207-1307. Change your water, change your life.
Pico, the way to go for residential, commercial, and industrial wiring, data, security, UPS, and generator installation. When you need electrical work done now, done right, done at an affordable price, contact Finney's Electrical Company. Call or WhatsApp 665-1916 or email pico_1166@yahoo.com. Pico, the way to go.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are strictly those of the participants and do not represent those of 2020visionradio.com or its advertisers. This 2020 Vision Radio 102.1 FM program is being simulcast weekly on the Caribbean Broadcast Network, heard on CBN Superstation 90.9 FM, Go Loud Digicel app, covering the entire U.S. and British Virgin Islands, and CBN TV on Flow Channel 101 and on CCT TV Channel 291. We do appreciate our U.S. and British Virgin Island listeners and viewers joining us for these informative and entertaining programs on 2020 Vision Radio and 102.1 FM.
Tell me what you want, please. Tell me what you need, Benny. Tell me if I'm good enough for you, babe. Good enough for you, babe. Tell me what you want, please. Tell me what you need, Benny. Tell me if I'm good enough for you, babe. Good enough for you, babe. Tell me what you want, please. Tell me what you need, Benny. Tell me if I'm good enough for you, babe. Good enough for you, baby. Tell me what you want, please. Tell me what you need, Benny. Tell me if I'm good enough for you, babe. Good enough for you, baby. But girl, tell me what you want, please. Tell me what you need, Benny. Tell me if I'm good enough for you, babe. Good enough for you, baby. Tell me.
Good night, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Tell Me. That's the good old Beanie Man coming out of Jamaica. And of course, we send our greetings and stay strong voices to all of the people in Jamaica affected by Hurricane Melissa. I think that's a name that they will retire. We're not going to hear about Melissa again as a hurricane. Hopefully. Good night, Tulu. How are you?
Well, I'm giving thanks as usual. We have another opportunity again to come out and to address the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis and wider field as to matters that pertain to the survival of our island. I've been across the waters of St. Kitts twice for this week, and at every turn, people hear the voice, recognize that this is the Tell Me and Target voice, and want to wish us well and encourage us to continue to keep up the fight in defending our Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. So to all of those who I met during the course of the week in St. Kitts, and even this evening came back over, somebody walked up to me and recognized the voice and want to express their gratitude to us for giving them the information in the diaspora, keeping them abreast. And so to all of them I say thanks to my sisters Janet and Sylvie and Valerie for their support. So let me say hi to Elvan Ellie, to my nephew Kyron, also to Romelo and Mrs. Jeffers, Lavanda, Rwanda, and to all those who listen to us on a regular basis. Thanks for listening. Call up a friend, call up a neighbor, call up someone who you know critical of this program. Tell them, listen, they will learn something.
Thank you very much. And Dr. Daly, how are you doing?
I am giving thanks to Carlisle. Good evening to all those who have joined us here for another lovely Thursday evening on Tell Me. It's really nice outside, quiet. The seas are calm, glass-like, good for fishing, but I'm on land, so that's another story. But let me say good evening to all those who have joined the conversation on the FM, YouTube, Twitch, and of course on the Facebook feed. And if you're on St. Kitts or in the greater diaspora, good evening to all of you. Let me say good evening to my brother Hugh down there in St. Croix, my brother Denny and his wife Twilla up in New York, and of course my brother Carl in Atlanta, my other brother Carl in Canada, and my sisters Yvonne and Judith up there in Connecticut. And right here on Nevis, my brother Reverend Othniel Daly, the pastor of the family.
Amen. Hallelujah.
And my good buddies over there in St. James, of course, you have Turkey and Bose and Gary. And up in Westbury, you have Max. So, you know, these guys, I'm telling you, I don't know what my life would be like without these guys. I'm an old man now, and so they're my right hand and left hand most times. And I do appreciate the dedication and commitment to make sure this old man gets through the day all right. All right, so I think that's it.
I'm smiling because you're calling yourself an old man. So. Okay, let me say good evening. I apologize for starting the Facebook Live just a minute ago. It's a good thing you talk about all the different mediums and so on. I tell you what, I was so shocked. In my Christian years, I just heard some bad word there that you remind me I caught up on them fellows in Zion. So.
Those were invented.
Yeah, he shocked me, poor little Christian years, so I just catching myself. Our friends all over the world, the time has changed, both in Europe and in the United States of America and Canada and so on. So you're now hustling home to catch us. Some of you might be reaching home a little bit late, but there's always replay. Now, some friends of mine say they prefer the live, so they ain't bother with replay too much. But let me say good night to, of course, I always shout out Maria's children. And starting with Mary and her husband, John and Janet. And then coming down to my sister, Glenda. And, of course, her children as well, Sharifa. And, of course, you have our taxi driver in the family. Down there in St. Thomas. One of these days I really got to do a feature and my nephew. And then we have Shireen and of course Sharifa and Kaden. My sister Morvet, she normally makes sure that we start on time. If we're just a little couple seconds late, she's going to ask me what happened to us. So we got to get on time. Good night to you, Morvet. And of course to Everett and his wife and his children. And my brother Trevor here in Nevis. I like when my brother Trevor visits, because even if it's just to give me a good word and to lift my spirits, but more often than that he come bearing fruits and vegetables and things. So I gotta love my brother Trevor. And let me say good evening as well, Mrs. Jeffers. I hope you and Postman are doing well. Mr. Farrell and Mrs. Farrell. I understand that you have a lot of golden apples, so I got to come up by you to Radio 3 so I could get some. I like to make drink from all things fruity. So I got to pass by you to get some golden apples. And to all of you who are listening to the program, let me look at the birthday list. And Ruthlyn Hill, your grandchildren said they didn't get in last week, so they want me to remind you tonight that they were thinking about you on your birthday. And so we're reaching out to you and letting you know that they're thinking about you. I miss Hollywood. How can I miss Hollywood's birthday? Hollywood, yesterday were you and Warren. I hope that you did good. Today is the 6th of November, and Kimali Stanley, who teaches at Nevis Academy, we're saying happy birthday to you. Dave Mills, celebrating today as well, and Verna Morgan is in New York. Is today's birthday? Tomorrow is a birthday, so advance birthday greetings to you, Verna. On the 7th, we have this wonderful lady, Lydia Claxton. Lydia Thompson Claxton, celebrating tomorrow, Friday. Jam Crew is celebrating as well. The great man, Hensley Daniel, celebrates on Friday the 7th, as well as my cousin Nana Arterton. Dr. Keedley Jones from Butlers is celebrating his birthday tomorrow. Mrs. Dora Stevens, she is celebrating a birthday tomorrow as well. Another cousin, Jonathan Kelly. Another cousin, Ursia Blake. And the big man, Muscle. So a lot of people celebrating on Friday. On Saturday, Glendale Herbert, will be celebrating his birthday. On Sunday, we have the big man, Pass, who will be celebrating. On Monday, Aiden Williams. Aiden Williams is for Stuart and Midge, so he's celebrating on Monday. And Bolo is celebrating as well. And Marsha Grant. On the 12th, we have Yvonne Hendrickson. Those are the persons who we have in the list. I think something just came up in the Tell Me chat.
Anniversary.
An anniversary. That's for Lafford
And Hyacinth
and
Forbes.
Hyacinth Forbes.
They're celebrating 33 years.
They're married for longer than how old I am.
I'm telling you, I was just in Pampers sometimes.
Yeah.
Keep going, keep going.
So, my good friend Hyacinth, and of course her husband Lawford, from us in the studio, we wish you all the best and love and happiness as you go through another 100 years together. May God continue to bless you.
Okay, so those are who we have, so we can now do the birthday song, because we have a whole ton of stuff to get through tonight.
But I just want to, I never seen that list that long for November.
It's true.
That means persons were very busy in February, January. People.
No, this is the 10th month, so it got to be February.
In February, right?
Yeah.
Valentine's.
Valentine's. Yeah.
People are getting jiggy.
Yeah.
Huh. And it's a Valentine when you're shooting blanks.
And and you know, Mr. The great Calypso king of the world, Sparrow. Sparrow has a song. He say, "If I say I love you, give me peace."
Okay then.
I don't know what I mean, but it's just that I know the Calypso. Tulu watching me in amazement.
I'm just wondering.
Where is going?
Right there, I just drop it right there.
How you guys got there?
Lord. There we go. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
And as usual, from us in the studio, may you live to be 101 and us 101 minus a day, so we don't have to see you go. May God continue to bless you with good health, strength, and of course, wealth.
Thank you very much. And now we'll get into the meat of the program this evening. But even before we do that, Dr. Daly, the NRP, we've been getting a lot of calls from people from not just regionally, but now internationally, with people wanting to hear about this legislation that we have that has been passed here. And tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, the party leader, Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge, will be on Class FM out of Anguilla. And in the afternoon, you will be using your European visa to go to England. You're appearing on a station out of England to spread the word.
Yeah, to London, yes.
Yeah, so tell us about that.
Well, they reached out to me. It's a Barbados-based radio station. This is the second Barbados connection we've had. I actually spoke to a radio station in Barbados last week, and so I guess they're connected in some way. And so I was invited to share our knowledge about the SSZ to the folks in the UK, and they have a quite wide listening base, and so persons were asking for more information. So they reached out to me 2 days ago, and everything was confirmed yesterday. So tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock Friday, our time, I'll be speaking on the matter of the SSD to the UK audience. So if you are available at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, then please feel free to join. There is a link that's available. If you want it, you can. Where they can get the link from, Carlisle?
I'm going to have to check the information that was sent out.
Okay.
Something was sent out, so we should get it during the course of the day.
All right.
The night, sorry.
Yeah. So while I have the mic, let me say something really serious about what's happening here on Nevis regarding an agriculture issue. All right. Now I've been approached by several persons complaining bitterly, and I want their story out there. That there are several persons, but one or two in particular, gentlemen, that have been raiding people's coconut trees in the area of Brown Pasture, Beach Road, Pond Hill, Zetlands, and really causing a mess. They are stealing to sell, resell. They're not stealing to, say, drink a jelly. They're stealing to resell. And what's very troubling about it is the fact that they're using any old container to transport these jellies, these chopped jellies, and they're selling them on to other retailers right here on Nevis. All right, so it's just a word of caution that you might be drinking contaminated coconut water, if you do not know the source of these jellies, I suggest you reconsider purchasing them, because you're going to come to a point where somebody's going to get poisoned. The anger among farmers is palpable. And they're saying, listen, if something don't happen, they will fix this problem themselves. And I hope it doesn't come to that. So I'm appealing to all those vendors and all the individuals. Please refrain from buying jellies from persons who you know for sure have not a single tree. Mm-hmm. And they're selling you jellies that they don't own. So I'm just begging persons, before something dire happens, restrain yourself or refuse to buy jellies from persons, especially those that are already chopped out and bottled. You don't know where the bottles came from. Mm-hmm. You don't know the sanitation of those bottles. And I've been told that bottles are being picked up across the roads and being used to use as containers to transport these jellies. So I'm just making a general appeal to cease and desist. I'm begging those persons who are raiding people's trees to stop, and those persons who are buying from these guys to also stop.
But they are legitimate vendors.
They are legitimate vendors out there. They chop the jellies right there in front of you. And you see these guys on the side of the road by reliable motors,
island tires,
down pennies.
Those are fairly reliable people. But if you see a guy walking the bottles of water, down to the beach to try and sell, and you know these guys, you could see them, they own nothing. But the chances are they've stolen it from people. And so I'm just asking persons to cooperate with the farmers, those persons who took the time to plant trees and are waiting anxious to reap their coconuts, and then they're stolen overnight. It's not right.
Thank you very much. While we're in agriculture, update me on the poultry processing plant.
I know,
you're taking this thing, making joke.
I know you're trying to be facetious here. I know.
But there was not only big groundbreaking ceremony.
There was
there was big talk about it at press conferences in the parliament of the land.
Yeah.
We were told that a Canadian firm had won the right to do the work, and that we later found out they had been subcontracted. They had subcontracted LEFCO.
Right.
We know that a hole was dug in the ground. Mm. Let's know where we are now.
Just before Daly comes in, the minister responsible would have indicated to an audience that the government was so serious about having this poultry industry that they went ahead and purchased the machines.
But those machines have been here for almost 4 years.
What he's saying, that they are so serious about having this poultry industry going, that they went ahead, even without having a shed, a house to put the machine, they went ahead and bought the machines, put them in storage to show how serious they are.
When did he say that?
Very, very recently.
That's the most.
Very, very recently. And I'm wondering, how come all of these people believe that Nigerians are so stupid that they could tell us any foolishness and we accept it?
I don't think people are accepting it. That's the funny thing.
Well, tell them straight up right then across there. You're chatting nonsense.
Well, you see, they're not going to have the conversation with people like me and you.
Okay.
But to the point that Carl asked, the site was indeed cleared last year when I had the groundbreaking in May. And then for almost a year, nothing happened. Then we heard about this agreement to finance the processing plant from a Canadian outfit paid for by the Taiwanese. And next thing we knew that the earthwork started.
Callers, hold your calls, please. Hold your calls for a while. We're not ready yet to take calls. Yeah. So please hold your calls.
Yeah, the earthwork started about 2-3 months ago, and then abruptly ended. And so what you have left is just a hole in the ground. There seem to be some issues between the contractor, the main contractor, and the subcontractor regarding the cost, because based on the initial design and layout, there was one price offered, But since then, there were apparently changes which doubled the price of the design. And so there was no agreement between the subcontractor and the contractor, and therefore the subcontractor walked away, pull up the stakes and walked away with his equipment. So I guess they will be negotiating sometime in the future. I don't think anything gonna happen for the rest of the year. Absolutely, I don't think anything gonna happen for the rest of the year.
But we haven't heard this from the government side.
They have remained mum about it. I think this level of embarrassment is severe. I mean, you cannot wish for a worse outcome, having had so many false starts, and then you end up with another egg on your face, even worse. That you have signed contracts, the money from the Taiwanese was available. I suppose it's still available. So I guess it's just a matter now going back and renegotiating for the new price before any work can be done. Because you remember, Lefco was burnt very badly with the police station project here in Charlestown. They were financing the project out of pocket, and they had to pull up stakes and move on because the money was not coming back over that they spent already.
I wanted to dovetail into that after this because the common factor there is Lefco.
Yeah.
You know, and well, first of all, let me just go back a little bit, because in St. Kitts, they started with the chick production, and we have learned that they are now exporting chicks.
Yes.
In Nevis had the equipment. This is in the 4th year that the equipment has been in Nevis paying rent, and to Lefco, and they have had groundbreaking ceremony. They have had clearing of the land, reclearing of the land, excavation for the footing and the foundation and so on, and still nothing happening. It seems to me as if we are going to go into another election and we still will not have a single chicken, a piece of chicken on any plate in Nevis from the poultry processing plant.
I made a prediction, and I said clearly, do not start anything until I give you the signal. And a lot of people are waiting for me to give them the signal to start building their poultry pens and stuff like that. I have not given the signal for anybody because I know how these guys operate. I can't imagine for the life of me this level of incompetence. It's just astounding that you have an entire ministry. The minister is taking charge of this project and is fumbling and fumbling and fumbling. It comes back again to the fact that he does not want to delegate to the people who know how. Right? I've said all along that the expertise is in the ministry. People like Randy Jefferson, Floyd Liebert, and those people who have the expertise, they're being shut out of the conversation. They're being shut out of the conversation. This is being administered from a political level rather than a technical level, and therefore you end up with these problems. All right? You always end up in problems when politicians, especially people as incompetent as Eric Evelyn and those people, take charge. If you had the level of expertise being brought to bear, you wouldn't have these problems. But when you treat everything as political, then you're going to always end up with a problem like this, because they're not trained. They're not trained and skilled enough to deal with matters. And
they don't understand the art of consulting with your professionals.
They don't. To me, farming out the project to a Taiwanese, to a Canadian firm, was, to me, just idiotic. I mean, I've said all along, I've been to so many poultry processing plants throughout Maryland, Delaware, West Virginia. I've been to so many. It's a shed. There's nothing complicated about it. You just have to have the spatial arrangement for the equipment. How your freezers and ice making equipment are stationed. These are things that are standard. And if I was to advise these people, just like I did when I was there in 2012, bring in a company. We had serious conversations with a company out of India, which would have built what we call a turnkey, fully financed, fully operational. They build the building, they bring the equipment, they sit the equipment, they train the workers. You're done with it. No contractor here and contractor there, and this equipment there don't match that building there. Stupidness. There are companies that specialize. Just like you have companies that specialize in building hospitals, and we all see what happened there. There are companies that specialize in poultry operations, agriculture operations in general.
And we could have got this done for $1 million.
For $1 million. Everything done. Equipment and building and layout and training.
1 million?
$1 million EC dollars.
This is going to cost us about $3 million when it's all done. Minimum.
If the equipment is still good.
You have a point too. The police station in Charlestown.
Oh, jeez.
There is some activity there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man.
Is that bad?
If you pass there in the night, the lights on. I believe the lights burn 24 hours a day because there has been no action inside the police station for an extended period of time. And the trouble is, Mark Brantley and his government are willing to pass the blame on and say that's a federal project.
Yes.
But it's a building on Nevis.
That building hasn't seen a worker since May of this year. They have not seen any activity since May. In April, there was a high-level visit from the Permanent Secretary of National Security, the Police High Command, bigwigs. They came up, I think, in April of this year, promising that these things have to be completed for September for independence. From May, when LEFCO took the last workman off the site, nothing has happened since. Independence has come and gone. He was there has come and gone. And December is rolling through. Carnival is upon us. And I guarantee you, more money will be spent on Carnival than will be spent to finish the police station. It is an abomination. It's an eyesore. This level of neglect could never have happened with the 1840 down there in St. Kitts. It would never happen. There are buildings that the government would have started in St. Kitts, I've been told, that are in just as worse shape. But as a matter of national security, this project needs to be finished. And we see no sign of it finishing. They have not said what the issues are. Every time they have a conversation, they say, oh, it's minor things left to do. A little touching up here, a little touching up there. What if it's minor things to touch up here and touch up there? How come he has not finished?
They might have to do some repairs to the repairs by the time they're done.
What I understand is that there needs major overhaul of the electrical component of the building. All those wires have been there from since the station was built. They're all frayed, they're old, they're too small, they cannot carry the load anymore. So that would need new set of wiring.
You're talking about at least another $400,000.
Easily. Because you're talking about, number 4 wires, number 2 wires, mains, switches, the whole electrical setup will have to be modified. That's an old building. All right? So I don't know if that price is what's frightening them or whatever it is, but
and that price might be on the low end.
Most likely. I mean, when you look at the cost of electrical wire these days, I mean, a roll of number 4 wire going to run you $6,000, $10,000 for one roll, and that's about 500 feet. All right, if that long. So it's a very expensive endeavor. A lot of work has not been done on that building for donkey years. It's time to change it out, get a new system in there. If you're talking about improving communication, if you're talking about improving or having the kind of equipment that require stabilized voltage and all this kind of fancy things, you need to invest in a proper electrical system. All right. So, I mean, I would invite the Prime Minister to come and visit and see for yourself.
You're talking about Dr. Drew?
Dr. Drew.
Come and visit?
Yeah.
But he ain't come in 3 years. You're inviting him to come now?
By the way, our sponsor, Pico, is the subcontract for the electrical component of the police station. And we all know Pico is a top-class guy. All right, he does exceptional work. And so I've never heard anybody say he's outrageous with his prices or he's price gouging or nothing like that. And, so I'm yet to hear from the Prime Minister what are the reasons why this work has dragged on for this long. The building down there that they're renting is inappropriate.
On a one-way street.
It's just inappropriate. And I would much prefer to know that majestic building, be brought back into service for the people of Nevis.
Well, you spoke about the Charleston police station, but I was reliably informed by somebody who is senior in the high command that the Newcastle police station is not finished either. And I couldn't believe it. And they tell me, if you want to see for yourself, go at the station. I said, well, I don't have nothing to go there for.
It's empty.
They said, listen, just go in and just to ask a question and look around as you see. He says it's an empty shell.
It's an empty shell. No, I don't even know whether the phones are now installed and working.
I was told that the phones were not working at that time when I was told that.
But it goes to the seriousness of our national security mandate. You understand? It's a vision inside of what national security looks like. Because you take the station out of the equation, we have no Coast Guard on Nevis. None. We are Federation. How come not even a station is on Nevis with a cutter? Nothing. It's just total neglect and disrespect. Nevis has proportionately more fishers than St. Kitts, proportionately. But we have no way of rescuing them if something goes awry. We have to now call St. Kitts to get a cutter to come look for our own people. And this has been a conversation for generations since Christina sank, that something needs to be done to put a cutter on the southeast, northeast, wherever they can find safe harbor. Even operated out of Long Point. There's ample room there. There's not much happening there. So why are we having a discussion and not action on these matters? It is, to me, we are going back again. We are being disrespected as what I believe should be a co-equal partner in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
But some person will argue that the Nevis Reformation Party was in a coalition with PAM, and that didn't happen. We were in a relationship with Labour, that didn't happen. CCM was in a relationship with PAM and with PLP, and it did not happen. So who do we blame? We are not blaming. We are just saying that the time has come when this has to be a part of the metric, part of the discussion, that national security is of such importance. We have drug running, and we have gun running, and all those kind of things that is going on, that we need to have added security, as much security as we can, to protect our borders.
You can see, I can't go back and blame any, and I'm not in the business of blaming previous governments. We know what the problem is.
Fix it.
Fix it
Fix
now.
the problem.
Fix it now.
All right? You can't say because PAM didn't do it that Labour shouldn't do it. All right? I'm not into the argument with anybody. I don't have enough oxygen to do that. My position is we have open borders on the southeast of Nevis, on the northeast of Nevis, on the west of Nevis, all around Nevis, open borders. And we can't be seriously talking about interdiction, talking about safe borders, border control, and you have no way of policing your borders unless it comes from St. Kitts. To me, it's a bit unfair for the command, the Coast Guard command down there, to be looked at and saying, listen, why isn't there something on Nevis? I'm sure they recognize the big hole in that protection net around Nevis. When you're out there fishing, and I've seen it so many times, you're out there fishing and boats come in close, you know what they're doing, but what are you going to do? You can't do anything about it. Now, if you had a Coast Guard station there with radar, can pick up anything, of course you can interdict. But I'm not going to risk my life out there with guys with guns and all kind of things like
You
that.
can't.
I won't.
That's not your business.
All right. So there is definitely a need for surveillance. There's definitely a need for introduction. The question is, why hasn't it been done for all these decades? And it's time now to get it done. Simple as that.
And stop wasting time.
Yeah.
We're going to take a little break. When we come back, we are going to change gears and move on with the show.
Pico, the way to go for residential, commercial, and industrial wiring, data, security, UPS and generator installation. When you need electrical work done now, done right, done at an affordable price, contact Finney's Electrical Company. Call or WhatsApp 665-1916 or email pico_1166@yahoo.com. Pico, the way to
Do you
go.
know what you're drinking? If you are drinking plastic bottled water, chances are you're consuming plastic contaminants, BPA, and other hormone-disrupting chemicals you cannot see with your naked eye. Those empty plastic bottles take up to 450 years to decompose. In the meantime, plastic bottles are polluting the environment. They are dangerous to the planet and our health. The safer solution is to acquire your own Kangen alkaline water filtration system, and you'll never have to buy toxic bottled water again. Help save the planet and drink clean water for less than the price you'll pay for acid plastic bottled water over the next few years. The Kangen technology is the world's most popular, most acquired water immunizer. For more information, you can call or WhatsApp us on 917-207-1307. That's 917-207-1307. Change your water, change your life.
Thank you very much, and welcome back to Tell Me. And just to say that our Prime Minister, it seems to me as if he has told himself that he's the Prime Minister of the state of St. Kitts and Nevis, and that he specializes in the St. Kitts part of St. Kitts and Nevis, because he has been Prime Minister heading up now to 3 years, and he has has been Prime Minister for 3 years, August. And he has not visited Nevis in any official capacity. Those of you who told me that you saw him at Sunshine and elsewhere, that's his private, personal business. That ain't got a thing to do with us. There's a federal office here. Maybe somebody pointed out the building and said that's the federal office. But he has not yet graced it with his presence to say that I've been to the federal office. Nor has he made himself available in Nevis to the people of Nevis so that they could come to see him. And these are just facts. Now, let's get back here. Every now and again I go in the library. And when I was in the library the last time, I found an interview that was done with a British station 5 years ago. 29th of last month made it 5 years. And our premier here in Nevis was asked about his 5-year plan. Listen to this.
Do you have any 5-year plan for Nevis? Like any 5-year plan changes for Nevis, where you want the island to go?
I think where we want the island to go is in terms of clearly we need more development. We need more economic development in particular. We are very, very robust about climate adaptation. So one of the things we're pushing is geothermal energy here on the island, which can revolutionize and transform our island, because if we're successful in this geothermal thrust, it would mean that our island now becomes 100% fossil fuel free for the generation of electricity. That would really put us in a league of our own insofar as the global environment is concerned. So we're pushing on that. We're pushing on financial services to say that there is still a place for financial services in the world that is not centered, money centers in Switzerland, in Zurich, in London, and in New York, that there is still scope for other players, smaller players like us. We're looking at things now like cryptocurrency to determine whether or not the digital asset craze that we're seeing, whether there is longevity to that, and whether or not we can engage successfully there. So there are a number of things we're looking at, but for me, on the ground, immediately, it's all about food security. It's about getting our people back. Nevis has very arable land, very fertile land, but we have abandoned farming many years. Most people prefer to go work at the banks. We're now saying to our people, there's an opportunity here for us to grow more, produce more, We grow organic food that's healthy, and we feel that there's an opportunity there. So on various fronts, we continue, of course, to look for additional investment in terms of our tourism sector, our hotel sector, our private villa sector. That has been growing nicely, and we're hopeful that will continue to grow. But then again, we're a small island, and one of the taglines for Nevis is Nevis naturally. And we really do not want to get to a stage where we overbuild or overdevelop. We do not want to lose that thing, that je ne sais quoi, that makes Nevis so very special. And so for us, it's also important to strike the right balance between development and our environment to ensure that Nevis naturally tagline, that we live up to that which has really made us unique and special in the entire Caribbean. I like to say that Nevis is how the Caribbean used to be. Nevis is how the Caribbean used to be. It takes us to a bygone age.
Gentlemen, I am firm in my mind that some of the times when Premier Brantley, when he allowed these interviews, he's hoping to God nobody in Nevis hear them. He's hoping that nobody would record them and play them back for the people of Nevis. Why do I say that? Here is our premiere on the 29th of the 10th month of the year 2020, doing an interview with a British journalist. Never released it to NNC, never requested a copy so that we can have it on NNC or have it played on local stations or anything like that. But he's waxing warm about geothermal. Now, I had a video which unfortunately was not downloaded for the program tonight of Montserrat, geothermal in Montserrat. Now, when NRP was in office, we had a geothermal conference in Nevis in 2010. By 2010, when we had that geothermal conference, we already had wells, geothermal wells, at Hamilton and over at Jessops that were flowing. At Spring Hill. That were flowing. We were already at that stage, way in advance of Dominica, of Montserrat. They're now talking about it in St. Lucia, and all of those will spring rocket and jump ahead of us. Montserrat is way ahead of us. Dominica, way ahead of us. But the Premier, if you ask him and if you talk to him, will still insist that we are online, on program, to have geothermal developed in Nevis. And we are at the back of the queue. When last have you heard anybody, either him or Dr. Joe, speak with any positive intentions about geothermal in Nevis and giving firm dates as to when things will be done?
The question was quite a simple question.
Tell me about your 5-year plan.
What is your 5-year plan?
Do you have a 5-year plan?
Perhaps because of my training, when somebody asks me about a plan, I would have approximate dates in my mind, timelines. So if you ask me what is my plan for my orchard, I'll say, okay, by December of 2025, I would have planted out 10 acres. By June of 2026, I would have been harvesting passion fruit. And X quantity will go this way and Y quantity the other way. When somebody asks about a plan, they're not asking you to be verbose. They're not asking you to be all over the place. They're asking you strategically, what do you see happening on your island in 5 years? That's what they're asking you. And so it's common sense that you answer in that format. Well, we are pursuing geothermal. We are 2 years out. And by December of 2026, we should be firmly producing geothermal for the people of Nevis. All right? We have started uploading, not uploading, we have started the conversations about cryptocurrency. We are engaged actively with the Ministry of Finance, overseas agencies, and I can assure you that by passing legislation, we are going to be complete with this upgrade by 2027. Simple, straightforward. that is how you answer a question when somebody asks you, what is your plan?
That is if you have a plan.
But you see, when you don't have a plan, then you're going to be all over the place like he was.
Well, this is what, because notice he began to answer the question by saying, I think. No, he didn't say that we have.
Why does he go out there, solicit these interviews, and embarrass us as if we are kunumunus? Because I'm sure the interviewer is saying, what is wrong with this man? He's all over the place. I can't go back and tell my production people that this makes any sense to anybody.
No.
I'll be cutting and clipping and cutting and clipping to make sense. That is perhaps the reason why he didn't bring it back to NNC to release. Because it's all garbage.
But you notice I waited 5 years. Do you have a 5-year plan? He did not say, yes, we have a plan. Because it is a brand new plan which is being implemented this year in 2020. No. So even if it had been in existence, worked on, I gave the man 5 years to see if any of the plan would come into fruition. Hear the joke. Towards the end of the interview, he spoke about Nevis naturally, and we don't want to overbuild. Now, how do you convince me that you don't want to overbuild, and that is part of the concept that you have for Nevis? And then you say, let's bring in 10,000 settlers.
That's the very first thing that I wrote here out of that. Oh, wait, but since you brought it up, it's important, because he does not want to spoil Nevis. He wants Nevis to remain as tranquil the way it was. But 5 years later, you're absolutely right. He is going to bring in 10,000 people to change the very same thing that he said.
But he said that we in the Nevis Reformation Party are trying to keep Nevis backwards.
But that's the way he said he wanted to keep it.
But that's how he said he wanted it.
Yes.
All right? And I don't see how 10,000 persons dropping 1 mile from Charlestown going to help that image that we are overbuilt. It's just ridiculous. It's just he has lost his mind. He has no plan, and that's why he spills all this nonsense across the airwaves. He has no plan. It's just like a Scrabble. You know, you're playing Scrabble and all kind of words coming out your mouth. But it's not coherent in any policy. You can't pick out anything what he says it makes sense as a plan. There's no plan there. They're just ideas. There's no plan. And that's a real tragedy, because it's a view inside of how he operates his cabinet. It's a view of how he operates the government. Knee-jerk reactions. They react to things rather than plan for things. And that's why things always fail with them, because there's no plan. When they were building the police station over there in Castle, they had no plan. They had none. They started to build without a plan. And so you end up in a situation like that. The same thing at the Holy Pier is just one big mess after one big mess after another big mess. And they don't seem to learn from previous mistakes. And it goes again to how they operate the government is simply by flying by the seat of the pants, knee-jerk reactions to things that are happening on the ground.
But sadly, the nonsense that he spew over the years, there are persons who somehow are not, seems to be knowledgeable enough to dissect and to understand that this man is chatting crap.
Who?
Too many of us in this region and around the world.
But if you don't know, and you are flattered by words, because to some people who are less enlightened, they look at all these words, this word salad he puts out and says, man, the premier sound like you know what you talk about. But for anybody with common sense, anybody with a sense of, what a plan is. I mean, a plan is a design that puts you from point A to point B. Everything we do have plans. You're building a house, you have a plan. You go to the contractor, you say, how long will it take to build this building here? What will it take? What kind of material you need? You already have a plan in your head. I want 3 bedrooms when you go to the architect. I want 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, blah, 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 blah. Plans. You understand? So these guys here are not operating like that.
So there are no plans for the development of Nevis, genuine bona fide plan. But the Premier has one plan from he entered into politics to this present moment, wherever he is. my plan is to see how much I can get out of politics for myself. You look down the line, barring Vance Amri, and you look at the politicians them from Dr. Daniel to all that dealt with the Nevis Reformation Party. Which one of them leave politics rich?
You see,
and he would have looked at it and told himself, this is not going to happen to me when I leave here.
But one doesn't need to be mutually exclusive. If he's intending to steal and be corrupt, you can still get some development done. You don't have to be specialized in stealing.
It has the ability to.
Well, you see, my whole thing is this: if you don't know, my philosophy is put people around who do know, and let them do the things.
But when you don't know and you think that you know, what is going to happen?
Well, going to be disaster.
Gentlemen, you're forgetting one point, that Mark Brantley is incompetent.
Yeah.
You have to start with that basic point.
Absolutely.
Find me another leader, anywhere. Well, exempt Vance. Vance was not incompetent, he was lazy. Okay? Find me another leader coming out of Nevis who has been in Parliament as long as Mark Brantley and has as little to show as Mark Brantley.
None.
What are the substantive matters that he can pat himself on the back and say, listen, this was properly done? The hospital?
Oh, no.
The airport?
No.
Poultry processing?
No.
The South Coast Road that he promised?
No.
Mark Brantley is a man who has been in office, who people expected much from, and they have received very little. He's like the man in the Bible who got many talents.
Or 10 talents.
But his many talents was one talent. That one single talent that he hid under a bushel and bought himself some nice clothes and traveled often, speak with about 4 or 5 different accents, and has not been able to produce for the people of Nevis. He's just a lost soul.
The problem we've always had as a country, and perhaps it's not unique to Nevis or St. Kitts, is throughout the world. The problem we have as a human species is that we're not always logical. We tend to be romanticized by people who are shysters, gangsters. We have this romantic view of the mobsters. You know, you see our daughters and sisters gravitating towards the bad boys. You know, we like people who have, as they call it, the riz. They're smooth, they talk good. We don't admire as a population or as a people, as a human race, people are willing to buckle down and work hard. We don't seem to understand, as a human species, that this is what should move the world. Instead, we go for the opposite. Persons who are hell-bent on taking advantage of their position, their smooth talk and their verbose languages, and, you know, the grandstanding. More of us really need to be smart enough to cut through all of that garbage and measure people by their works. Because if you apply the same metric to the politicians as you apply to your spouse or your children or your family, people like Brandy will never survive.
He remind me of what Martin Powell used to say: send you go look some wood so she could start the fire to put on the pot, and you bring green wood, all you see is smoke. Good evening, caller.
Good evening. How everybody doing?
I can speak for myself and say I'm tremendous.
Well, everybody got a mic by their mouth so they could. Anyway, I want to piggyback on the tape you just played there 5 years ago. I realize Mark Brantley say, you know, he don't want to, you know, get Nevis. He want to keep Nevis natural, you know, like that. But we got to give him credit. 5 years after he did not develop Nevis, and his intention 5 years after is still not to develop Nevis. Remember, he put in an island into Nevis, so Nevis still going to be Nevis, and that area with the 10,000 is going to be a different area. So He's still not going to develop Nevis. Nevis is still going to be Aaron and same people. So I have to give him credit for that because he's still not developing up Nevis. Remember, he's making a country for himself. So that's just my input there.
Thank you very much, Carla. The phone lines are now open. We're going to get down to the SSZ in a little while, so perhaps you're going to still have to hold your calls a little bit. Gentlemen, the commentary by Dwyer Stefan, which came out this week, I tried to look at it to see how we can get clips, and boy, just better that we just play the whole thing into the record. So, here goes.
Greetings. There has been heated discussion about the recently passed Special Sustainable Zones Authorization Act and about the project proposed for Nevis under the Act. If approved, the project could occupy an area of maybe 3 square miles or 9% of the island of Nevis. Do you believe that our Constitution envisages projects of this scope with so much of a little island ending up in one set of hands and becoming, for all practical purposes, a separate state? Are you comfortable with the prospect of government and Nevis Island administration yielding up so much critical authority to a private entity? I will explain. This matter is extremely critical, and unfortunately a lot of us are for it or against it based not on full information and disclosure and the desire to be analytical and objective, but on political preferences and bias. And that is not a right path to follow if you want sustainable success. So we need to dig deeper. We have to get it right. We need to take off our political hats and put on our citizen and patriot hats. What I see is that the act is a very skillfully and artfully drafted piece of law. But in my opinion, it was not drafted in the best interests of the people of Nevis and St. Kitts. Rather, again in my opinion, it was drafted on the basis of a clear intention to create what would be in effect a separate country in Nevis and in St. Kitts Nevis, and with the intention of draining governmental authority and gathering as much as it could out of this deal. For me, that is something that is scary. If you read the act, and I encourage you to, you will note that there are several mentions of the constitution of the country. And if we are not paying close attention, we might be seduced into believing that the zone would operate under our laws. In other words, the laws of the land. But nothing would be further from the truth. For example, Section 6, part of it, states that the development agreement shall provide that the following matters shall remain within the exclusive legislative, governance, and administrative domain and control of the federal government and, where applicable, the Nevis Island administration. Namely, foreign affairs, military defense, citizenship and residence, elections related to the National Assembly or the NIA and registration of voters, and jurisdiction of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court and the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council were stipulated as exclusive jurisdiction by the Constitution. This is deadly serious stuff. And here's why. Firstly, it speaks to elections relating to the National Assembly and the NIA. This means that the people in the zone can have their own elections and own electoral laws. But who would have oversight of those elections and laws? How might their laws and practices affect the image and integrity of our country in terms of electoral transparency and all of these other important things? Will their people be eligible to vote in their elections and also in ours? And if the zone is to be part of the island of Nevis under the relevant electoral laws, then its inhabitants, and that's the word that the Constitution uses, its inhabitants would have to be counted in the boundaries calculus. Is anybody explaining these things to us? Is anybody considering how they could impact the politics, the economics, and other things of Nevis and the whole country? Sadly, the language of the Act does not help us with this particular matter. then the Act acknowledges the continuing exclusive authority of the government with regard to matters within the jurisdiction of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court and the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council, were stipulated as exclusive jurisdiction by the Constitution. But the truth is that the High Court has exclusive jurisdiction only over constitutional matters. So what the Act does is opens the door for the zone bosses to have their own civil and criminal justice system with the ability to bypass much of our justice system and in effect to have their own legislature. So they have their own judicial system, they have their own legislature, and they have their own executive. In other words, they get a government. Note that the police is not mentioned in the Act as part of what our government retains exclusive jurisdiction over, nor are prisons, fire and rescue, health, education. So relevant to the police, is the zone going to have its own police? Who will give them constabulary powers? How will that work in terms of our police and theirs? The Constitution of this country at sections 84 and 85 speaks to a police service commission. Now this police service commission is important in the policing arrangements of the country and in the national security of the country. Does the Act therefore raise a constitutional question? If so, we have a problem. If not, then somebody please explain to the country if and why the police would be excluded from the SSZ story. Now, what would happen if there's a murder in the zone? Will the DPP, which office is a creature of the Constitution also, be excluded? Where will convicted persons serve time? Will there be a prison in the zone? Or will we be a receptacle for their criminals? How might that affect our national security, our national security agencies, our international image, our stability? What about an appellate criminal and civil system? Will they have their own? Where will that lead to? Why is nobody explaining these things to us? We don't know enough. And the language of this Act, as it is, as I understand it, cannot be an oversight on the part of lawyers who must have been very artful and skillful to structure it the way it is structured. In my opinion, it is intentionally crafted the way it is. I'm not fooled by all of these references to the Constitution either. That, for me, is a distraction. The truth is that the Act was drafted to exclude the Constitution as much as possible and to set up as best as possible an independent state in Nevis. So skillfully done that the whole thing is also set up, in my opinion, to avoid judicial review cases being brought because they put it all into legislation, an act of parliament. How could our highly intelligent lawmakers and their legal luminaries and advisors miss this? Or is it me missing something? Please enlighten me. Enlighten us. Because if I am missing something, then I'm sure a lot of other people are as well. One of the objects of the Act is to promote St. Kitts Nevis as an extraordinary investment and lifestyle destination. What do they mean by lifestyle? The Act does not mention education, as I said, or health. What are the plans for these things? What about data gathering, synchronization between their institutions and ours? How can they operate without oversight from our education and health authorities? How could that be? Do you mean that they're going to be that separate from everybody else? Separate like apartheid? The Act also states that the zone must supply at least 70% of its renewable energy and 70% of its water for itself. They should supply all for themselves. They should not have access to subsidize energy and water from the public grid. That deprives us, cuts our share short in terms of water and energy, and cuts our share short in terms of revenue for the relevant authorities. The law also says that the developer will provide dispute resolution services. What would that look like? Will it include our lawyers, our mediators, and other professionals? Or is this going to be yet another pathway for people from up north to eat our lunch? What about building standards? It looks like they will have pretty much their own way, but suppose their own way does not measure up to our standards, particularly in terms of hurricane and earthquake, and a calamity strikes, insurance rates go up, not just in St. Kitts Nevis, but all over, because of that, because of slackness, allowing things like that to happen. But are we allowing things like that to happen? The Act also states that the developer shall present an economic analysis to show that the zone is likely to generate long-term economic opportunities. I ask, for whom? Create employment. I ask again, for whom? Attract foreign and domestic investment and generate revenue for the benefit of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis for at least 10 years after operationalization. Remember I said, not guaranteed to generate, but likely to generate. That's a nothing burger. There's nothing binding or assured about that. That's nonsense. How could our decision makers pass a provision like that in the law? It's a crock of bull. It's a fool's promise. It's like, I don't even want to say that. The Act also speaks about adopting the development agreement into law. I am calling upon our legislators to make sure that if things reach that point, that the entire development agreement is included in the document presented to Parliament, and done so only after it is published broadly for the people of this country to examine and provide their feedback. We want to see the entire agreement. This is not just any ordinary setup. This is a generationally consequential arrangement. And we have the responsibility to make sure it works for us and will work for generations to come. We are our own best protectors. And if our lawmakers do not make the effort, and make the effort also to improve upon this terrible piece of legislation, in my opinion, then it might be helpful if a group of citizens, including Christian Council, Chamber of Industry and Commerce, professional groups, trade groups, individuals, come together and mount a constitutional challenge to this act. And while there are other areas of concern, I will close off by saying that we need to know what the penalties are if either the government side or the developer side falters. And if it is the government side, how would the penalty be shared between the federal government and the NIA? Who will pay what? And who will resolve it? Arbitrators up in England? Aren't we tired sending money and sending resources and yielding up to people from far away? Aren't we tired of it? How many 100 years more we must put up? I'm not being angry or xenophobic or any silly like that. I'm saying we have to stand on our own feet and insist on what is right for us. And speaking about liability, I am told, and people speculate when they don't get the information, I'm told that the developers' liability would be limited to 75 million, but ours would be 23 billion. There could be nothing more self-destructive and self-hating than that. So I am expecting that that is not true. But I will speculate, other people will speculate, if we don't get the facts. And it's not to say that these facts are personal to our decision makers. These are consequential things for us and our generations to come. Finally, I'm also hearing that a similar project is being considered for the Whitegate area. More speculation? Born of what? Government holding back information? This is history in the making. We must do it right. This is not time for silence or sitting back. This situation is far bigger than party politics. We know all too well how party politics can paralyze and pauperize us mentally and otherwise. We are at a milestone in our country's history. We need to take a stand. As for me, what I'm seeing with this act does not convince me. In fact, it concerns me deeply. And we need to get clarification and we need discussion. Thank you.
Do I ask Stefan? I couldn't say it any better. I must tell you that I've listened to it more than once. And every time I listen to it, I get more and more alarmed at what our leaders appear hell-bent on doing. Mark Brantley has made it clear that nothing is going to stop him. As far as he is concerned, he was elected to lead, and his frustrations spilled over into this.
I am here to advise those who may not have known that it does not matter to me one jot what people say. It doesn't matter. What you have to say about me and your opinion of me, that no matter. You understand? Because when I go home, it is the opinions there that matter to me most. I live by me. You live by you. So you worry about who home by you, whether them like you or not. And I can worry about who home by me.
My understanding is that he tried to walk back this initial last night. That's not going to work. What he said is exactly what he meant. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, Carly.
How are you tonight?
I'm fine. I'm my good friend Tulo and the legendary Mr. Daly. Thank you. And I'm going to try and listen to you on BBC tomorrow. Because don't tell me boys them in Catholic to listen. I was on the phone a while ago with them. Mr. Daly.
Yes, sir.
How he sound? He sound like one of them Jinkles Class, how he sound, you know, by Paloma shop. He ain't sound like a premier. Mark Bradley's not sounding like a premier. He sound like one of these sugar walkers who get where they call it pet like where they used to give the sugar walkers them.
Goat water.
Goat water. He sound like one of them who done junk from after 2 when they pay them and they reach down come drink rum. The man is crazy, he lost his way. And I could tell him, you know, that is all over for him. Pick up your stumps and your pad and go off the field. You have failed us in a big, big way. And Carly, that's supposed to be the trump card to put him in the checkout lounge. That thing there. That clip there. Supposed to be the trump card for him. Mark finish. The best thing for Mark to do is to just pull up the stumps and go off the field. He done. Listen up, Premier. Father, help this country. We in problem. This is ladies' time, you know. And asking the young people them to support Janice, Miss Washington, and the other one Bartlett. Support them girls. Let me get something different happening because this one down here can't survive it. He gone. So he could talk all kind of thing, but he fix hospital and he do this and water this and come up monkey, come up do a drink rum. I think people stupid like before. Watch them don't go on that. Give rum and get vote. Them things done with the young generation them coming through is not gonna bite them nonsense. Are you going home? Are you going home? Have a good night, guys. And keep jamming them.
Have a good night.
Well, Powell, the utterance of the Premier are the words of a hurting man. The Premier is hurting. To say that he doesn't care about what people say, he lie. What people says and what people say is the truth. It is hurting him to his core. So he came up with that. There is no possible way where a rational being is not affected by what people say about him or her, whether good or bad. We will be touched and impacted in some way or the other. That is just another part of his deception that he is trying to use. And so I feel his pain.
Let us get back to what Dwyer was alluding to. And he obviously feels very strongly. And he has done many podcasts about the same issue since the bill was passed. So I applaud him for being consistent with that. And what he did tonight in this broadcast was itemize more clearly his position and belief and opinions, which are very important and very strongly worded and presented. What is amazing, though, is that we haven't had similar persons. Dwyer can't be the only activist on St. Kitts. He can't be the only man who has seen through what we have seen through here on Nevis. Why is there such a paucity of commentators on St. Kitts? Dwyer doesn't have the only microphone on St. Kitts. Why he's the only person speaking? Isn't this of importance to them too? They are brilliant people, commentators on St. Kitts, just like Dwyer. We have heard from Charles Wilkins through print. We haven't heard any other commentary since. I'm understanding that the Chamber should be coming out with a release of something sort soon. But I applaud him for taking the fight to the government. What is distressing to me, and to all of us, is when I would have listened to the Prime Minister yesterday on freedom in his closing remarks. He made it quite clear that he has given instructions to the Attorney General to tweak the bill on matters of concern. If you listen to what Dwyer said, this is not tweaking. When you listen to the litany of issues and how this bill is constructed and all of the loopholes, this is not a tweak. You cannot tweak this. I mean, how do you tweak disenfranchising 10,000 persons from voting or preventing them from buying land outside of the zone? How do you tweak the matters of national defense, national security? The question raised about healthcare and the responsibility for healthcare. Two separate systems. How do you tweak that into an agreement? You can't. It tells you that this bill is not worth the paper that it is printed on. You can't tweak this, Mr. Prime Minister. The AG cannot help you with this. You have to take the responsibility, Mr. Prime Minister, and withdraw this garbage. Otherwise, we will face the whirlwind from this. And I can't understand the arrogance. I really can't understand the Prime Minister's arrogance by failing to admit that he is wrong. The mark of a man is to know when he's wrong, apologize to the people and move on. Make amends. But you don't keep plowing into the ground as if you are invincible, as if you can't make mistakes, as if you did not see all that these people are saying. That is a sign of a man who is not listening, tone deaf. And it is sad that persons out there are encouraging the Prime Minister with this nonsense and saying to the Prime Minister, well done, you're doing a good job. Well, he might be doing a good job in putting the road in Monkey Hill. I have no doubt there. But we on Nevis are fighting for our lives. We are fighting to maintain our identity, and we are fighting to maintain our future for our children. We do not want to see 10,000 persons on our doorstep. Persons who are millionaires and billionaires, who are accustomed to have their way, who are accustomed to do things their way, who will take advantage of a poor sect of people like we are. We can't compete with these people for anything. And so I applaud Dwyer Astafan for going out there, because it is a brave thing to do. To put yourself out there in the public domain, where you would obviously get backlash and criticisms. I have been one of the greatest critics of Dwyer. But on this matter here, I have to applaud. I criticize when there's a need to criticize. I criticize the fact that he was flying too close to Brantley, that he couldn't see the sun. But he has now adjusted himself on this particular matter and called out the Premier on this. And for that, he must be applauded. And I do thank him immensely for joining the fight to save Nevis, something the Prime Minister himself should have been doing. To tell the Premier, boy, you're going too far with this. Bring this back. Throttle back. Because obviously he would have heard the outcry at the town hall. We were all there, we heard. A resounding no, we don't want this. When you have a government that's not listening to the people, the same people who are paying their bills, then you have a problem.
You have a major problem. And not only that, this is a premier who said, hey, listen, despite the no's, the people elected me to lead. And since they elected me to lead, referendum and those kind of things out of the question, I'll do what I want to do. Caller, good evening.
Yeah, Carla, I have to come back again. I think Dwyer, you really got to give him props. Because Dwyer been fighting this thing tooth and nail with us. He and Mark good. Dwyer and Mark is good. But when Dwyer told me, when you see people's future, especially the children between St. Kitts and Nevis, is threatened. The future is threatened by vagabond behavior. He got to play a different ball game. I tell him, when the ball is on the wicket, you make sure that you play between wicket and wicket. And so, you son the telecall.
You got to play straight.
You've got to play straight. And we have to congratulate Doyle to voicing the opinion, but he got a lot of big dogs in St. Kitts saying nothing. And when I pass in Bastille, they drop down the one. But I got a plaster, you know, because I don't back down. I don't take last lick. Good night, sister C. Oh, my lady of the radio. Carla, we in problem here. And you, Daly and Tulu, keep fighting because we're going to stop. We not going to stop talk. They must appeal this thing. Because I understand some people want to start some matches. And I hope they start them quick. Because for Christmas we should be marching as well. Have a good night, gentlemen. Keep batting like Viv Richards.
Have a good night, caller. Thank you very much.
Dwyer.
Listen, just a minute, Tulu, before I forget. This week, I have to thank Alan. Alan sent me a podcast which...
fantastic.
Somebody with inside knowledge of the Hawksbill Creek Agreement between the government of the Bahamas and the Freeport people down there. And it's similar, but it had vast acreage. You're talking about 100 and something thousand acres. You know, you're talking about serious acreage, but they have acreage. We in Nevis, we got 36 square miles. And when you take out the mountain out of the 36, you're probably already down to 30 square miles. And we have a government here that is looking to give away 4 acres of that. Now, here is a problem that I face. Most of these people who are sitting around the table in negotiations, not accustomed to money, are overwhelmed by money. And so as a result of that, when you sit around the table and you have the discussions and then you're in the corridor and a fellow tell you, listen, I can make it worth your while, I didn't slip you a little $1 million. All of a sudden, people's heads start to turn. I am convinced that agreements have been made, that assurances have been given, and that is why the Premier and the Prime Minister can't turn back. They are hell-bent and proceeding and making sure that whatever agreements they have made, that they fulfill the agreements, whether or not they're in the best interest of the people. Now, I raised the matter of the Bahamas because their free trade area goes back to 1955. It's not something new. It's 1955 where they gave this agreement. And if you look at how it is tied up now, it is tied up to the extent that the people who were with the company that had the original agreement, they already passed out that so many times that you can't even find the trail. And why did they do that? They did that because by 1967-68, a gentleman who is not with us anymore, Sir Lyndon Pindlin, his party came to the realization by, listen, this thing, we made mistakes. And he gave a speech which they called the bend or break speech. Can't find the original speech, but I've had the contents of the speech. And in that bend or break speech, which was addressed directly to the people, he essentially told them, you're either going to make amendments or we're going to break up this whole foolishness. What we have here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and in Nevis in particular, is a premier and a cabinet who are speaking for the developers. They have had more promotions for Destiny than Destiny. Nobody from Destiny has set foot on Nevis and stood up in front of any town hall, any press conference to say that, hey, listen, I am Jensen. I am Destiny. And I am here to make a presentation to you and to take your questions and hear your concerns. What we have seen and who we have seen is Mark Brantley and his cabinet presenting on behalf of Destiny. So the question of Justice Ramdani comes back to mind. Who is Mark Brantley representing? At what point is he representing the people of Nevis as Premier? At what point is he representing the real estate company that has been engaged in all of these discussions? And at what point is he representing Destiny? That is the problem that we have in Nevis. He's right in that the thief the last government, but he said that they got elected. But be that as it may, Mark Brantley up to now has not come out representing the people of Nevis. He's selling us Destiny. He's telling us, listen, this is not I am asking you whether or not we want the town hall, whether or not we want Destiny. I'm telling you we must have Destiny. He's talking as if he has shares in Destiny.
But the thing about it, Carlisle, if I may jump in here prematurely, you know, you've touched on something very deep, and we have been saying it for some time, that you have a premier who will be authorized to sign the agreement between Destiny and the government. In the meantime, there is no daylight between him and Destiny. He's in fact an employee, acting like an employee of Destiny. But then how will he now be judicious? How can he be now impartial to Destiny? He can't. He is now basically in the pockets of Destiny.
Mm-hmm. That's a
and
fact.
he is also authorized to sign on behalf of the people of Nevis the development agreement with the same people. If that is not a conflict, I don't know what a conflict is. And he made that same mistake with the Candy Resort.
Absolutely. He didn't learn a thing from that.
Where his wife was involved as a realtor. He was a deputy premier, but yet he was acting as if he's agent for the developers. The same exact scenario. And the judge, as indicated, was flabbergasted. And it's in the transcript of the judgment. Well, Mr. Brantley, who are you representing? Are you representing the people of Nevis? Or are you representing the developers?
The same thing can be said of
the same thing that's happening now. Why where have you ever seen anywhere in the world a parliamentary democracy where the sitting government is out there fully throated representing a developer in the absence of the developer? You are supposed to be representing the people who sent you to parliament to look out for the best interests, not to be the PRO for a company for which you will then sign for. Well, how is that fair to the people of Nevis? I want to ask those people who are supporting this government, how is this fair to the people of Nevis that your premier and your cabinet are the ones who are negotiating for the development and the same ones who will be signing the agreement? There is no space left. There is no room between them and the government. They're one and the same. Destiny and the NIA is one entity. Destiny and the NIA is one body. There's no daylight between them. So how can they sign for us when we are not included in this? Our views are not being taken seriously on this, because the Premier and Destiny is the same thing. Troy Lightbird, Nisbet, Brand, Trust, Lewis, all of them They're the same identical thing as Johnson, there, Brooks, and the rest of them. They're on the same team. No difference. And people need to recognize this. We've been saying it enough. It's beyond PRO now. They are one and the same. So how can you sign for us? How can you represent the people when you're working for the company?
Premier would have made it abundantly clear that he is not interested in what the people has to say. He would have said to us that our voices ended when we voted. When the votes were tallied, the last election, then is when the voice of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis ended. And from there on in, he and Drew has the right and the authority to do whatever they want to do, and they do not want to hear anything. When they hear me say he don't care about nobody says, he would have listened to the podcast from Dwyer. He would have been listening to our programs. He would have listened to the resounding no that he got at the town hall meeting. And he would have heard the voice of others who would have called him and said no. And he would have made up his mind, what you say has no bearing on me. The only thing that interests me, and these people need to understand, that here we have a premier, a leader of a country, is saying to you that your voice doesn't matter to him. What matters to him is what takes place in his house. But yet the same man is going to bring into your country a development or a settlement that will affect you and your future for the rest of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Can he get elected just by the people in his house?
No.
But he thinks so?
Well, he believes that. And so it is the people now to understand that the premier is saying to us that he is not representing you. You live at you, according to him, and I live at me. And my concern, my primary concern, is what goes on in my house. Has nothing to do with the rest of all of you who are speaking houses.
Anybody, cabinet members, members of our communities, members of our island, citizens and residents alike. Anybody who can look at this in all fairness and the clarity, without any partisan politics, without any tribalism, can tell me this is a perfect way of doing business, where your views as citizens and residents are discarded and discounted, where your government is representing the developers and not you, and not your interest, then heaven help us. Because you can't have your cake and eat it. You're either going to believe in the rule of law, you're either going to believe that you should have representative politics, or you're not going to believe that. And we are not getting that in the most important issue of our generation, perhaps our lifetime. A development that can change our course of history forever. And you are not getting proper representation from the government. Matter of fact, you're not getting any representation from the government.
It's very painful.
To come to that admission, it is painful. It is indeed painful.
But we have to bear in mind daily that more persons other than tri-labored who are willing to go in hell with Mark according to Troy, or go into hell for Mark and make sure that he's still out of hell, and they're going for him. We have to face this reality. There are some people in this island and around the world in general that they are so tied in with this guy. I've heard someone said to me that there was one lady who said, and the team was disappointed, no matter what Mr. Brantley do, man, he could even tutu panta for me. And you know, they use the long-term language. And what he's saying, and when he said that, I said, listen,
yeah, but
there are too many of us in this island who gave him the guy. He understands fully well that I could tell them anything I could do them anything, and I will have a loyal code that follows
Let
me.
me tell you something too, and I hear you loud and clear, and there are persons like that, but I can assure you they're in the minority.
One is too
Very,
much.
very small
They're in
minority.
the
Small minority.
What I'm advocating for is for those persons, other than these people, there are a majority of us out there who understand clearly that this is the most corrupt process ever. They're not stupid. They know it.
But
they don't want to come out and say anything, like, for whatever reason. But they understand it. You don't think Astro understands this? He does. He's not a stupid fellow.
But
there's another but, right? But there are other people, professional people, for whatever reason, who understands. You cannot serve two masters. We are paying you as taxpayers to be our parliamentary leaders, to make sure that our best interests are protected. You cannot find that scenario playing out in this process, in this particular process. We are not being represented. We as divisions and residents are not being represented. Who are being represented? Destiny.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm appealing to those persons who are fear-minded. This is not an NRP issue, you know.
It has gone way past.
Way past. We may be leading on it, but this is not an NRP issue. The issue here is we are not getting representation as we ought to. We are not being afforded protection as we ought to. We are being sold lock, stock, and barrel by a government hell-bent on a process and a development that is anti-Nevis, and they're proceeding.
Good evening, caller.
Good evening, Mr. Powell. Good evening, Dr. Daly. Good evening, my good brother Tulu. Gentlemen, Mr. Brantley and the Concerned Citizen Movement got us like puppy shop, like children. He does not respect the Nevisian public. He was elected to serve, and he is not serving the right way, and the people need to come out and say something. I called in upon the Christian Council again, the Evangelist Association, and the Chamber of Industry and Commerce, and the community at large to come and sit down, because this is not an NRP issue, this is not a CCM issue, this is not a Labour issue or a PAM issue. Secondly, the Prime Minister, he is the head of state, and he don't have the courtesy to come and visit the Nevis people, but leave them. One of these days, the time is longer than the rope. It's only a matter of time. And when the time comes, everybody can bar. Good night.
Thank you very much. Just one slight correction. The Governor General is head of state. Let me play a clip here, because I'm getting conflicting answers. The Premier did say that people in the zone cannot come out of the zone to buy property, and yet still people with land in the zone are being offered land outside of the zone. So I don't know how is it you could get to exchange land outside of the zone if people inside of the zone can buy property outside there.
Johnson can buy lands outside of the zone to exchange. The people who comes in and will be living in the zone.
We're not involved. Let's say that he is not involved. He said that he was approached for the purchase of his acreage in the zone, and that he accepted, but that has not been completed yet. Yes.
There is one other provision, it hasn't been asked about, but let me just tell you now, that we had a concern about people who are in the zone being able to purchase land outside the zone. And we have also said emphatically that there could be no cross-pollination, so to speak. So if you're in the zone, you will not be allowed to purchase real estate outside the zone.
The developers are also saying to persons that, listen, if it is that you do not want to part ways with land, and I'm putting land in inverted commas, right? you have land in the area that they are interested in, they are also saying to you, if you are adamant that you need to hold on to land, they are willing to perhaps swap a piece of land for you in other parts of Nevis. So that is why there have been some inquiries by the developers in different parts of Nevis to acquire different tracts of land to swap to those persons who do not necessarily or intend to part with their land but are willing to take land in a different location of Nevis.
The proposed investors have said a number of things, caller. They have said that for those people who have lands in the area that they want to establish this zone, but who do not wish to sell, that they are trying to acquire lands elsewhere to swap. And they say they're doing at a swap of 1.5. That's what I gathered from them. So if you have 10 acres of land over on the southern side of Nevis, and you do not wish to sell your land, they're saying they'll purchase 15 acres someplace else that they can swap, exchange then. Let me not use swap. Exchange for that. That's my understanding.
Okay. So, in other words, they not got the land yet.
I wouldn't know what lands they have already. I'm merely telling you that that is my understanding of what they said they are proposing to.
I got to prefer Mark. He said that he not aware. But just for our own edification, the zone, to the best of my knowledge, is stretching from just there by Long Point in that area, heading across to west of Indian Castle. But Dr. Daly, Webbs is not in that area.
No.
And there are other areas not in that area where they have made arrangements with people for their land. That's outside of the zone.
Yes.
And the Premier certainly must know that those areas are outside of the zone.
Yes.
So the challenge is that there might be more than one zone. They just have not told us yet.
That's a possibility. But the Premier is making some really strange, I should say, analyses or conclusions. Because he's saying that persons who will be in the zone will not be able to purchase land outside of the zone. While the legislation, I'm sorry I don't have a copy with me, the legislation speaks to them having the right. I think
it does have everything.
This is the draft. This is the final one. Page 6. Okay. Page 6 of the gazetted piece of legislation. H, it says, a development agreement may contain provisions related to the following matters. H, addition of real property within parameters to be defined in the development agreement to expand the area. What does that mean?
So he's saying
the legislation gives them every right to purchase land outside of the zone.
But he's making people believe that they can't.
They can't. And not only that, that he's going to introduce legislation to prevent them from doing that. That is the most silliest conclusion or solution there is. Because if I live in the zone and I see 10 acres over in Butlers or 10 acres in Cotton Ground, for example, I don't have to go in person and buy it. I can form a company and have the company buy it. This is a holding company in my name. Or I can get somebody else, a relative, who's related, of course, related to me, to say, listen, Carl, I'll take the $2 million and buy the 10 acres over there for me. He's making it seem as if he's going to have a roster of all the zone residents, and knowing that Tulu Weeks, who lives in apartment 2F in the zone, should not be able to buy land anywhere else except in the zone. This is nonsense. It is impossible to execute. It's impossible to do it. As a citizen, CBI or not, you have certain unalienable rights guaranteed in the Constitution. So what he's saying is, and what Drew is saying, is that they are going to introduce
legislative band-aids or bandages to fix all of these gaping holes in this SSC Act.
We didn't see them before they put it into Parliament and put it into law.
But you heard what Dwyer said. He's wondering who could have drafted this and seen all of these deficiencies and still bring it to Parliament.
It wasn't drafted by them.
And it comes back to the point where the conversation I had with the president of the bar, where she said her association, her group, were not contacted or invited to review the act either before it went to Parliament or after the first reading.
They would have seen these holes.
You have 100 some people who could have easily spotted what Astafan he saw, but they didn't want this. They wanted to sneak this in. But so the point I'm trying to make is Brantley is offering again another legislative fix to fix something that it's outrageous. It can't be fixed without a constitutional amendment, changing the constitution. The same thing with the voting. He's saying he's going to stop them from voting. How do you prevent a citizen from voting without going and change the electoral law, which is then comes into conflict with the Constitution because you're guaranteed certain rights in the Constitution? So what are you going to do? Go down and change the Constitution too? This thing is so terrible. And they're trying all sorts of fixes, which as you fix one, another hole open up.
Well, Mark Brantley was asked a question by a reporter, an Indian reporter. How will the NIA enforce the rules?
One of the questions here were strict environmental and social standards look good on paper, but enforcement is often where things fall short. How will your administration ensure those rules have real teeth against powerful developers? And I think that's probably speaks more in line with a couple of the CBI things that have taken place right the way across the Caribbean.
Right. So I think it's an excellent question, and I'm going to be blunt with you. Part of our problem in small island states is capacity. You know, I joke with my friends all the time, and I say that sometimes if you need a particular doctor, there may actually be only one person in the entire country who has that expertise because we're so small. And so oftentimes we have to rely on expertise from outside and to bring people in. An environmental czar, for example, somebody who's going to come in and assist us. So we're very open to that. I think, however, that every developmental sort of thrust starts with the idea. So you have to first have the idea, then you fashion the framework. And then I think what this question is talking about now is how do you monitor and how do you enforce? And I think that comes down to getting the right people, having the right framework, getting the right people, and showing the level of seriousness. And I think that seriousness comes from political will. When we engage with developers, as you say, quite powerful developers, people who are very well financed, sometimes having checkbooks, I would say, and profit and loss statements that are much bigger than the country that they're coming to invest in. So we understand that. I mean, when you look at major companies, say a company like Microsoft, I mean, their bottom line is much bigger than most countries in the world. So the reality is that we understand the power dynamic, but it really comes back to political will. And we know that for an island our size, sustainability is critical. Absent sustainability, we will simply disappear. And so this is not just a fireside chat. This is not just an armchair discussion. This for us is our survival. We must be sustainable. We must do more in terms of food security. We must ensure that we wean ourselves off the dependence on fossil fuels for energy. We must have water security, whether through desalination or other mechanisms. But the reality is that we are on the front line of that. There are other countries which perhaps can endure if some part of their country was to become unsustainable, but we simply don't have that luxury.
This reminds me of an empty can that you're kicking down the road.
What the hell was that?
Exactly. Just like an empty can you're kicking down the road.
Where does sustainability come in? Where does power and water come in? The guy asks you how.
A specific question. How do you enforce? Let me go to the phone lines. Good evening, caller.
Hello. Good evening. This is Livingstone Williams, aka Stoneman.
How are you, Stoneman?
I'm okay. Listen, the problem with this whole thing is the main stakeholders have not been consulted or any information given to them, which is the landholders. He has had meetings with everybody else but the landholders. And this whole thing about these lands, they could give you 200% if they're worse off. None of these lands are in a place where there's road or any kind of utility. I myself was offered some and I was told to go view them, and I told them I don't need to. I know exactly where they are. And they are even more distant and, according to him, barren as the ones which they want. And why would somebody, people only have to look at this, would somebody give you 50% more of something which is any good? People have got to look at that and see that these people are some scoundrels, and these people do not talk straight. They're making it up as they go along to try to suck you in. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stoneman. Good to hear you. It made a very, very important point. Why would people give you have 10 acres and they say, over here is barren, is not good for anything, but I give you 15 acres in a good area?
But I think what Livy was saying, even the 15 acres they give you in a supposedly good area, it's just as remote and barren as where you're coming
exactly.
from.
And the other big point that Livy made is that they have met with everybody except the landowners.
Well, they have met with the landowners. They have met with the buyer. You know, the two most important groups, perhaps, in seeing through the legal aspect of it, and of course the landowners being disrespected by not having the conversation. Because you see, persons like Livy have been asking them from the day one, what are you going to use my land for? Very important question. And they've been told time and time again, we are not at liberty to discuss.
To tell you,
And so another person sold off their lands without knowing exactly what the intention is. And a lot of people are regretting, actually, and are trying to walk back because they were duped, telling people, it's upscale development and blah, 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 not being told it's a settlement of libertarians. And so people feel aggrieved at this point. Some persons, at least, feel aggrieved that they actually were duped into selling their land.
Let's go back to the non-answer that the Premier gave. Because he said down there that if Nevis is not sustainable, then we basically will go out of existence. People need to...
Hold on, Tulu. Let's take an overseas call. Good evening, caller.
Carla, good night.
How are you tonight?
Me up the night, boy. Tulu, Dr. Daly, good night.
Good night.
Look, your position, right? Made more a push for repeal, and because the truth about it, if I check them out right, Aldo not sign the assembly yet. You know that the contract breach already, right?
I suspect that they have given some assurances. Mark Brantley is on record as saying that nothing has been signed yet. I don't believe him.
Yeah, but what? Over the zone, then to provide X amount to current, X amount to water, and so forth and so right? Premier Brantley don't tell the people and them. Let them develop. But leave this. Develop the structure that I already got there. And therefore the contract already breached, you know. And remember, if the contract breach, somebody have to go pay out something. Are you get that?
You got a point.
Exactly. Exactly. So, look, if I notice, every time he try for penny, he shut me down, you know. He shut me down and I said that makes a stupidness. But me try to tell to me that you know, listen to the citizens, you know. You're not listening, you just hell bent of doing, but you're not, if you only listen to the repeal, and then one more thing, over there think it. Azad tell the Attorney General that what they do wrong, then we supposed to that discussion first. The Attorney General say, well, who supposed to the Parliament, no maybe. But he go and go say this fine, I must get this in place, you know. The Attorney General tell Azad, he go accept why he say, but it's little too late. I them do something wrong, you know. I them do something wrong, but he still tell Azad that and the idea take. He go late and I them do something wrong. Okay then.
Thank you very much, caller. Listen, that's our last call for the night because it's 10 o'clock. We're going to do the wrap-up and we're going to get ourselves out of here. Thank you very much, caller. Tulu?
Yeah, I was saying that the way the Premier answered the question, talking about the sustainability of Nevis, if Nevis is not sustainable, will go out of existence. People need to understand that this SSZ law or bill has nothing to do with Nevis. It has everything to do with destiny. Mark Marty is not speaking for us. That is why he would have said to us over and over that he is not discussing the SSC regulation, but he is speaking about the development destiny itself. Now, while Astafan addressed destiny, I want people to understand that the people for destiny, they would have said to us what they want. And let me say again, that they said that they want as little government as possible. And Dwyer was quite explicit with that. They also said that they will have no government of any kind within their zone, and that they will make those requirements up front. He said that they will buy the lands and they will set the rules of the game. Okay? Then they said that they are going to negotiate additional protection from external threat from the country. And so all that is here, the tweaking that you hear Mark is tweaking, and the tweaking that we hear Drew said that he's going to be tweaking here, he instructed the Attorney General to tweak. They are tweaking everything to give more and more power and autonomy to Destiny and its developers. It has nothing to do with us as a people. And when you have people saying that they're going to come into your country and they want to have a what they call a home owners association, that's what you look at. Look at this zone as a home owners association with their own laws, with little government, with their having the control and dictating to the government that they bought the lands from what they want. My brothers and sisters, how can any one of us sit down and think that this is good for Nevis, or this is good for St. Kitts and Nevis, when the creators or the owners of Destiny would have already put out publicly what their intentions are? And the intention is to have a country within a country, and they call it to create the first world libertarian country. That is what Jensen wants. That is what the others want with him. And this is what Mark Brantley and Dr. Drew is doing their utmost best to give to Jensen. I am saying to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, if Drew and Mark is going to stop, we will have to stop them. And the only way we are going to stop these two individuals from selling us out is for us in large number to rise up and to have a massive demonstration against these two governments. I do not want anybody to throw any stones or any battle or cut anybody's tire like what took place in Nevis under Mark and Vance and them. Peaceful demonstration and protest in Nevis and in St. Kitts is the only thing I believe is going to stop Drew and Mark Brantley from giving Jensen and Destiny what they wanted to our detriment. We can't afford that to happen. Let us stand up and take back our country out of the hands of Mark, Drew, and Garth Wilkin.
Thank you very much, Tulu. Dr. Daly.
Let me, in closing, invite all those again to join me tomorrow, 2 o'clock. If you want to get the link, you can send me a message and I'll send it to you personal. Let us face it. We are in a fight for our lives, and you can't underestimate it. The legislative fixes that Brantley is proposing will not muster. They will not get us anywhere because they're impossible to do. There are so many things wrong, so many holes, big holes in this act. Can't be fixed, can't be tweaked. And even if you were to tweak, we still end up in a situation, gentlemen, where you have the major investor who's leading this charge, who is an avowed racist. Is on record. He believes that every black person who has accomplished anything is a DEI. He idolizes Charlie Kirk. So he was a good one. We lost a good one. Birds of a feather always flock together.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Premier and the Prime Minister, I am certain of it, 100%, that they are fully aware of the philosophy of these gentlemen. They are fully aware that these people are racist. And they are fully aware that racists attract racists. And they're willing to put 10,000 of them to the south of Nevis, 1 mile from Charlestown, in their own little racist city. Paid for cryptocurrency, by cryptocurrency. The same cryptocurrency that's being trashed right now, losing so much of its value in the last few months. 25% or so value lost. People are losing hundreds of millions of their value of crypto. And this is being financed by crypto. Billionaires who are looking somewhere to park their money. It is something that we can't take the risk. We can't take this. And so I am left to wonder what is left to be said to Mark Brantley that has not already been said. What is left to be said to Dr. Drew that has not already been said? And the mere fact they are not listening, the mere fact they're not interested in hearing the outcry of the people, tells you this is a fait accompli. They already decided this is exactly what they're going to do. And Brantley might say that the agreement has not been signed. But that's just a formality. A signature agreement, that's just a formality. The intention is to sign.
The intention is to take the agreement to Parliament to be codified, locking us into a legally framed agreement. First time in our history. First time in our history, we have a development agreement going to Parliament to be ratified. Giving them the right to exist, to vote, to buy land, to have their own security, all of that good things. Diminishing the power of the state. To be ratified into law. Show me another piece of legislation that has been crafted to simply allow another entity, a foreign entity, to have this much control. It doesn't exist. Nisbet has an agreement. Four Seasons has an agreement. Montpelier, Mount Nevis, all the major development that comes to Nevis, they all have agreements. Which one has been ratified in Parliament? Which one has guaranteed them the power of the law behind them to protect them and to punish us if we dare break the agreement to the tune of $22 billion? Which one? This legislation was not crafted by us. It was given to us. It was given to us. And like nice little boys and girls, we took it, signed it, and now are selling it to the people of Nevis. I'm saying to the people of Nevis, stop thinking through politics. Think through the eyes of your children and your grandchildren. And think through the eyes of yourself. Because Brantley, he don't care about you. He's well set. His wife, she even was. She don't care about you. She's well set. The whole family is well set. I don't know what Jewish problem in St. Kitts is. Maybe he's looking to be set. But I'm saying to Nevis people tonight, think logically, think for yourself. Brantley has his objective, you must have yours. Don't let him speak for you when you know what he's speaking is wrong. Good night.
Thank you very much. Just a reminder, those persons whose membership expired at the end of September, your membership dues are now payable, and we want you to continue to be members of this great party, the Nevis Reformation Party. So your membership dues is only $150 a year. Make sure that you get your dues in so that you can be current. And in addition to that, I just want to thank all those persons who normally send us our hot chocolate that we enjoy on a Thursday night. And to remind you, if you're sending out a barrel for Christmas, put in some more for us, because we never have too much. We have been grasping and grappling with this SSZ legislation, and we have heard from a number of persons. I understand that the chamber should be issuing something. I understand that we should be having a press conference sometime next week, so which we'll want to tune into. I'm not going to give you any more information, save to tell you about a press conference next week. I was pointed to the development agreement by a very good lawyer friend of mine, and he said, Powell, I just want you to look at number 6, where it says, under other conditions of the development agreement, a development agreement shall, that's 6.1, and when you go to 6.2, it says a development agreement may, in the same number 6. One is shall, one is may. I'm going to tell you more about that next week.
Watch out for the may.
Yeah, you got to be very careful. We'll tell you more about that next week. I understand why the Premier is pushing so hard for this thing. Because just 2 years ago, when he recognized his inability to get anything done, he made this statement.
And the reasons why we have not been able to attract, I wish I could tell you, because we've had so many opportunities where we've engaged. From a government point of view, we have engaged in terms of meetings and concessions and trying to facilitate. For some reason, these investors have not delivered. insofar as Nevis is concerned. We've had project after project announced to the point where I have taken the position as Premier that I don't announce projects anymore.
But he announced Destiny.
More than that.
Okay. We're going to be back with you next week. Until then, we want you to continue to be good. And tune in, tell your friends, tell your family members that tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge will be on Class FM out of Anguilla. And at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Dr. Daly will be making the rounds. He will be on a station out of the United Kingdom. So please continue to be a part of what's happening in Nevis and understand that we're here to bring you information. See you next week.
Pico, the way to go for residential, commercial, and industrial wiring, data, security, UPS and generator installation. When you need electrical work done now, done right, done at an affordable price, contact Finney's Electrical.